Okay, hello everyone. Now today what I want to talk about is an article that comes out of CNN written by Dakeen Andone and Jessica Campisi, which states that there's not a single US state where a minimum wage worker can afford a 2-bedroom rental. Now what's more disturbing is that they stated that in the 3,000 counties that exist in the entire United States, only 22 counties allow a minimum wage worker to purchase a 1-bedroom rental. Now, of course, there are certain caveats that apply to that and how they determine what is the affordability, and we will go through some of those things when we go through the article. Now, this article states there's not a single state, county, or metropolitan area in the entire United States where a full-time worker earning the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour can afford a modest 2-bedroom apartment. And if those workers wanted to, they would have to work 122 hours a week, every week, all year. This is according to a new report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, or NLIHC. Now, what is the National Low Income Housing Coalition? Let's look at that really quickly. They work to end homelessness and housing poverty. We're dedicated solely to achieving socially just public policy that ensures people with the lowest incomes in the United States have affordable and decent homes. Now, here's a quick model of what they discussed. Okay, so if you look at the United States and you see Hawaii and Alaska over there to the side, you can see that you need above $20 an hour for the blue states, Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Florida, New York, Virginia, etc. 15 to 20 between a lot of the Midwestern states and some of the southeastern states, southern states, Texas, Oklahoma, etc. And below 15 for others, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky. However, none of the states are or the majority of states actually do not have minimum wages that meet the requirement. Now let's go back to the article at CNN. So the NLIHC found U.S. workers need to earn $22.10 an hour to afford a modest 2-bedroom. And that's 3 times above the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. This year's findings demonstrate how far out of reach modestly priced housing is for the growing low-wage workforce, despite recent wage growth and for other vulnerable populations across the country. So how did they get these numbers? They come up with what is called a housing wage that they based on the Department of Housing and Urban Development fair market rent. Then they use, it says here, 30% of the income for housing. So that is a fair number, but that brings about the question, how do the states stack up when you apply these numbers? In Arkansas, where housing costs are lowest, workers still need to earn $13.84 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom home. And for Hawaii, where it's the highest, almost $1,900, they need to earn, the minimum wage is only $10.10, and they need to earn $36 an hour to afford that 2-bedroom home. So here are the top 10 most expensive states, including Washington, D.C. From Hawaii to Alaska, you can see the highest hourly wage needed for a 2-bedroom household would be $36, and the lowest in Alaska, $24.8. And so in order of the highest to lowest, you have Hawaii, District of Columbia, California, New York, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Washington, Connecticut, and Alaska. So what about metro areas? Huge metro areas. Of course, now San Francisco, it says tops the list, where you have to earn $60 to live in a 2-bedroom rental. And of the 10 most expensive metropolitan areas or counties, 8 are in California, 1 is in New York, and 1 is in Hawaii. As you look at this graph here. San Francisco, Oakland, Fremont, Honolulu, Washington, Irvine, California, etc. Now, would it be cheaper to rent a one-bedroom? They say a little, but not by much. On average, workers still need to earn $17.90, essentially $18 an hour, to afford a modest one-bedroom apartment. In 22 out of 3,000 counties nationwide, could workers earning minimum wage afford to rent a one-bedroom? According to the report, a worker earning minimum wage would have to work 99 hours per week all year long to afford a one-bedroom. That's about 2.5 full-time jobs. Now, how can this issue be addressed? The report calls out Donald Trump and his administration, which has proposed cutting funding for federal housing assistance. HUD Secretary Ben Carson announced a proposal to triple the rent for households receiving federal assistance and require they pay 35% of their gross income in rent, as opposed to the current requirement of 30%. This would, according to Carson, help address rising costs of providing housing assistance, which currently helps 1 in 4 families who qualify. Trump's proposed cuts for the 2019 year would lead to the largest reduction in affordable housing and community development investments in decades, which would cause 200,000 families to lose assistance. Now, the report says that rather than cut assistance, the government should continue to invest in housing programs that help the lowest income households. The affordable housing crisis demands that we think big and act boldly, writes Senator Bernie Sanders in the report's preface. In the richest country in history, no family should have to make the awful choice between food on the table and keeping a roof over their heads. This is America. We have the resources to solve the affordable housing crisis. So tell me, or tell us, what you think we should do, whether it be personally, in our communities, in our cities, states, regions, or nationally, to try to address this issue so houses can be more affordable, so people can find ways to live without spending the majority of their income on just finding shelter. All right, thanks for listening, guys, and as always, until next time.